in the book you mentioned some of the specific mental health issues that you've actually worked with. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Sure. So in the book, we speak mainly about depression, anxiety, stress, and trauma. And these are diagnoses that many people are getting. And it's a common experience, whether it's a clinical diagnosis of depression, anxiety, or trauma, or subclinical levels where we're feeling down or we're feeling worried or anxious. And, whether you're diagnosed in this or whether it's something that you're struggling with but might not necessarily meet diagnostic criteria, I think yoga can be really powerful and really helpful in that process. In many ways, but one of the ways that we talk about in the book and kind of links into what we were talking about before is regulating the nervous system. So when we're feeling anxious or often when we're feeling the residual effects of trauma, we might feel hyper aroused, or in yoga psychology we might call this rajasic, or in new psychology, like sympathetically dominant or hyper aroused. So we can do practices to down regulate, to help us to cultivate more sattva, to help us to calm. Or when we're feeling depressed or shut down or flat, we might be feeling more tamasic in yoga language, or hypo aroused in psychology. And so we might do practices to up regulate, to bring us back within our window of tolerance, or cultivate sattva. So there's a whole heap of practices that yoga shares with us to do that. But what we need to do even before we engage in any kind of practices, and in itself is infinitely powerful, is to notice your internal state. Where am I? And so we can use these are different maps. So the window of tolerance is a map to understand our internal experience. The gunas is another map. Looking at the autonomic nervous system is another kind of overlapping map. So we have these maps from different traditions that help us to understand our internal experience. And it sounds really simple when I say it, but it's often something that's missed. Where am I now? What's going on for me now? And so pausing, taking that moment to really sit with myself, to be present with what's unfolding in my experience, and to notice that without judgment or without expectation, that in itself is often a big shift, often is all that we need to do. And once we have some insight about where we are, about how we're traveling, then we can make an informed decision about what next. Do I want to do a practice to regulate? Do I need to sit with this a little bit more? Sometimes do I need to distract myself because it's all getting too much and I just need to go and do a few cartwheels or watch some Netflix or put my feet on the sand outside. But this first point of tuning in and noticing is so powerful. And this is one of the gifts that yoga and, many other kind of wisdom traditions share with us.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how valuable this information would be to yoga teachers to kind of have a sense of what am I looking for and what am I seeing in my students, and what do I do when these circumstances arise in my yoga class.